Andrew Cuomo is acting very scared.
Zephyr Teachout returned to Poughkeepsie on Friday as she continues her campaign to be the Democratic candidate for governor of New York. At a rally in Warriors Park, Teachout spoke about her vision for New York.
I actually have a vision of this state which is very optimistic and hopeful. I think we can lead the country in 21st century transportation technologies. I think we can lead the country in renewable energy, and there's a lot of excitement around that kind of hopeful vision of New York State.
But while Zephyr Teachout is optimistic and hopeful about New York, her criticism of Andrew Cuomo is not.
Because Andrew Cuomo refused to debate me, saying that debates were a disservice to democracy. But when I was debating Rob Astorino, I felt like I was debating Andrew Cuomo. Because his core tax policy was, gotta do more tax giveaways. Because if we don't do more tax giveaways, hundreds of people will leave the state. So when he looks out at this state, he doesn't see this water, he doesn't see our Palisades, he doesn't see our beautiful land. He sees a barren land that people are about to leave. And so his entire rhetoric, along with Astorino's rhetoric, is a rhetoric of fear and scarcity, which means for our municipalities and our schools, the rhetoric of austerity. And this austerity politics isn't working. It didn't work in the Republican Party, and it's not working in its new home in Andrew Cuomo's Democratic Party. That's right.
In his austerity approach to the state budget, does the question come back, where would we find the money?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you exactly where we'd find it. A lot of it is in the big banks. And I've spent my life not just fighting big banks, but lobbying Washington, D.C. about banking reform. So I know where the secrets are in the tax code. And here what we have is the big banks pay a fraction of what they should in terms of their contribution to the state budget. And Andrew Cuomo made it an even smaller fraction, actually. A lot of his proposals have been tax giveaways to the big banks. Like, he pushed for bank tax repeal at a time where we actually need more funding for our schools and basic infrastructure. So that's a huge source. Another source is just making our income tax more fair. Right now, the wealthiest 1% pay less as a percentage of their income tax than the middle 20%. So I turn that right side up. I think the tax code of the state is the moral code of the state. It says what we value. And right now, we're valuing just the 1%.
And when it comes to the environment, which you can't ignore if you're standing right here, we've had an administration that seems neither Democratic nor Republican, but silent on the key issues of our time. Andrew Cuomo has been silent on hydrofracking. I want to ban hydrofracking. Yeah!
I will ban fracking as the governor of New York. Andrew Cuomo has said he would answer the question of hydrofracking after looking at the science, but there's lots of science and he hasn't actually spoken about it for years. And I think it's slowing our economic growth because farmers and other landowners are really anxious that they might have hydrofracking next door, so they can't build sustainable agriculture, agrotourism, build on the possibilities of the land.
So as Tuesday's primary election approaches, Zephyr Teachout remains very optimistic.
And today, Andrew Cuomo apparently has called up Hillary Clinton, who is doing robocalls on Andrew Cuomo's behalf. So I will tell you, the only person who is doing internal polling on this campaign, Andrew Cuomo, is acting very scared. Yeah, good. He should be. Because I don't know what that phone call sounded like, but it's not a small ask to ask Hillary Clinton to do robocalls, and he's only doing that if he's seeing something that is very exciting for Teachout Woo. That's right. Wow. So we're relying on Andrew Cuomo's internal polls, and I'll tell you what those internal polls are telling us. We are going to have a historic victory next Tuesday.
This is Roger Connor reporting for HVNN.com.